Good afternoon, everyone. It is my honor to welcome all of you to this inaugural Speakers National Youth Debating Competition. The judges for this 8th debate in the first round of debates, and this is the final debate in the first round, the judges are Mr. Delon Fraser. Delon is our chief judge. He's a distinguished Toastmaster. Delon has been a Toastmaster for over 10 years. He is a member of the One Country, One World Advanced Toastmasters Club and the Cacique Toastmasters Club. He has served and continues to serve in many leadership roles at the club's area, division, and district levels. Mr. Fraser has judged numerous speech contests at various levels and has served as a judge for previous youth parliaments. Mr. Fraser acquired a Master's of Business Administration degree, a Bachelor of Social Sciences degree in International Relations, and a Bachelor of Law degree, and an Advanced Diploma in Project Management. Our second judge is Ms. Anisa Mohammed. Anisa is head of Guyana's Learning Channel, Ministry of Education. All those programs that you see happening so that our kids at all levels that are being taught on the Learning Channel, Ms. Anisa Mohammed is the head of that institution. She's a mother of two. Anisa has been involved in the private communications sector for more than 10 years and held the most recent post as Chief Executive Officer before coming into the public sector. Ms. Mohammed is extremely passionate about careers, technology, education, women's rights. She is a published author. Our third judge, and I'm saying third, but it's no order of importance or putting anyone down, but the third person we have judging today is Mrs. Melissa Dow Richardson, who is our Assistant Director of Sport, Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. Ms. Dow Richardson is an alumna of St. Stanislaus College, the University of Guyana History and Law programs, University of the West Indies, the American University of Peace Studies, the Caribbean Leadership Program. She is a former multidiscipline national athlete, table tennis and basketball, and I promise to take her on at table tennis. Her sport credentials include Olympic certification in sports administration, World Anti-Doping Agency certified doping control officer, and she is Guyana's first and only level 2 female table tennis coach. I think you may have had a hand in Chelsea too. Excellent. Our Chelsea Edghill going off to Tokyo for the Olympics in table tennis category. Ms. Dow Richardson has a professional background in journalism, education, international relations, business management, community development, and of course, coaching. Today, we have the proposing team is Angoy's Avenue Adolescent Youth Friendly Space. Yes is the acronym. And that's New Amsterdam, Angoy's Avenue. The Angoy's Avenue Adolescents Youth Friendly Space has become a hub for many young persons since November 2006. This initiative has created a space for many adolescents and youth to access relevant information about sexual and reproductive health issues. The group also focuses on HIV and AIDS and other domestic and gender-based issues. Added to their activities are netball, basketball, table tennis again, chess, and other board games. They will be represented by three speakers: Kimberly Smith, Delroy Marks, and Latoya Bethune. The opposing team today is not too far from us, Cummings Lodge Youth Development. The Cummings Lodge Youth Development is a group of young enthusiastic individuals who are passionate about community development. They are engaged in a wide range of activities, from job training to voluntary work. Their three speakers today are Richard, I hope I say this correct, Baini, Mr. Puran Dayal Omar Charan, and Mr. Vikash Basdio. Today's moot is: playing video games leads to a dangerous addiction. I declare this debate open and invite the first speaker from the proposition, Ms. Kimberly Smith from Angoy's Avenue Adolescent Youth Friendly Space, to make her presentation. Ms. Smith?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. To 11:15, you can start.
A pleasant afternoon to everyone that is present on this virtual platform. Have you ever thought about toxicity present in video games? Did you ever think the thing that you,
Ms. Smith, just give us 1 second. Ms. Smith, you have to flip your phone. We're seeing you, I don't want to say sideways, but your head is where your left arm is, or your left arm is where your head should be. Okay, switch the phone around and we can start again. So we are waiting for Kimberly to switch her phone and be in the right position to make her presentation. Excellent. Okay, Ms. Smith, you can start now.
Everyone that is present on this virtual platform. Have you ever thought about the toxicity present in our beloved video games? Did you ever think that the thing you, your family, or your friends enjoy is actually detrimental to one's health? Well, despite the COVID-19 pandemic and worldwide pandemic, I, Kimberly Smith, am honored to be in the presence of each and every one of you to propose the move, and I quote, playing video game leads to a dangerous addiction. And with a 26.8 worldwide prevalence, on the 28th of May 2019, the World Health Organization recognized video gaming addiction as a mental health condition, adding it into the International Classification of Diseases. As such, as the first speaker, I will be exemplifying the psychological reasons how and why playing video games leads to a dangerous addiction. Then, Speaker 2 will focus on the biological reasons, while Speaker 3 will elaborate on the economic standpoint. Before I commence, permit me to define the key terms in our moot. Playing is defined by the American Psychological Association as activities pursued for sole pleasure. The Oxford Dictionary defines video games as the manipulation and control of images on a screen. It also defines dangerous as the ability to inflict problems that. And finally, addiction is defined by the mental health net as repeated involvement of an activity, despite the substantial harm it causes, because that involvement was and still may continue to be pleasurable. Audience, you may be wondering, how can simply playing a video game lead to a mental health condition? More specifically, addiction. So let me start from the beginning. In the book, The Psychology of Desire, Wilhelm Hoffman played emphasis on a major motive for our actions, desire. However, like the infamous Vivek said, and I quote, unlimited desires pave the way for unlimited sufferings, end quote. This is precisely why Plato viewed desire as a philosophical problem, and Buddhists believe that the only way to achieve full happiness, nirvana, is if we remove desire from our existence completely. If this is the case, why do we desire things despite their toxicity? Well, as stated by Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory, we have a pleasure principle that makes us desire the pleasure hormone. David Brainfield, founder of the Center for Technology Addiction and clinical professor of psychiatry, explained, our brain is naturally wired to crave instant gratification, speed, and unpredictability, all three of which are achieved via video games. Hence, when we play video games, our brain is flooded with dopamine, resulting in a dire desire for more. Perspicuous judges, think about how dangerous this is. Professor of Brain and Cognitive Sciences Daphne Bablier explained that although video games have the benefit of stimulating our cerebrum, our constant desire to play video games causes overstimulation, which leads to horrific psychological detriments such as obsessive compulsive disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder, among many others. After all, too much of something is good for nothing, especially not when it leads to danger. As is, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, opposite playing that is truth. Are we to argue video gaming addiction is non-existent? Are we to deny the credibility of world-renowned scientists, psychologists, philosophers, and even neurologists? Who are we to dismantle years of research? But ironically, I'm not surprised that as humans, we are questioning the risk that video games pose. After all, we always try to find an end to justify our means. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. I now ask Mr. Richard Biney from the Cummings Lodge Youth Movement to make his presentation. Richard, you are now up. Is Richard there?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here.
Go ahead, Richard, you're up.
Yes, sir, no? All protocols observed, I rise to dismantle the suggestion that playing video games leads to dangerous addiction. You're addicted to something when you consume it to the extent where it adversely affects you. This is the widely accepted definition of addiction. Playing video games does not lead to an addiction, more so a dangerous one. There is no scientific consensus that it does. Hundreds of studies completed, nothing to substantiate that claim. These are not my words. The proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America has recognized this. Despite the World Health Organization, as Ms. Smith would have mentioned, recognizing video games tendency to play a lot of video games as a mental disorder, the American Psychiatric Association, the APA, in their DSM, the Working Dictionary of Mental Health, does not recognize gaming disorder or video game addiction, where addiction-like behavior is displayed by gamers. Petrie, a professor who was on the APA committee, said personally she thinks it's a mental health disorder, while Michael Milham, vice president of the research at the Child Mind Institute, who treated thousands of children who were thought to have video game addiction, has labeled it a biological disorder. Han, a researcher at the Chang'an University Hospital in Seoul, opposes classifying this as an addiction. He opposes classifying this disorder as an addiction, partly because hardly any of the thousands of patients he has treated exhibited tolerance or withdrawal symptoms. But video games, everyone knows what they are. Like my proposed opponent would have mentioned, everyone knows what they are. They're things that your 2-year-old play on the iPad, word games, and even Candy Crush your grandmother plays. They have evolved from Pac-Man and Donkey Kong to things like 2K and FIFA that mimics reality. That is the extent to which they have evolved to become complex, detailed pieces of technology. Games have much more to them than just screen time. There is a plethora of benefits associated with them. Thousands of hours are put into crafting the perfect game, not for the consumer, but for the manufacturer as well. They have to sell. Sounds you hear, images you see, all are designed to capture your attention. Valco, director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, in her research published in the Journal of Neuroscience in 2006, said these sounds and colors, they condition your brain, they become reinforcing. And this is how our brain works. So one reason why some people might display behavior that is synonymous with addiction is because their prefrontal cortex, as Dr. Han found, is not fully developed. He also found these characteristics in people with schizophrenia, autism, and poor impulse control. These are mental and biological disorders, not addictions. He said that ultimately gaming would be a symptom, not a cause. So in his words, people who use drugs, the needle would get them all hyped up. But it's that feeling within the game, how it's designed. You unlock a level, you get an achievement. That is how it affects your brain. It's the same circuitry involved. And then you have dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical for your brain's reward system. When you accomplish something, as you unlock a level in the game, that euphoric feeling you get, dopamine is responsible for that. The reward system in the games are specifically designed to keep a constant flow of dopamine in your brain, which keeps you hooked on the game. Volcro has proven this in our research, and Millen explained that the fact that video games are stimulating and exciting is a good and healthy thing, but you just have to know how to control. And all of this comes back to addiction-like behavior that some may display from playing video games being a mental and biological disorder, not an addiction. Petrie is one of the many researchers who said that more data are needed to show that both potential gaming disorder persist in patient lives and the unique condition. Compare this to other dangerous things like cocaine. What is more dangerous? I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. The second speaker for the proposition is Mr. Delroy Marks from the Angoy's Avenue Adolescent Youth Friendly Space. Delroy, it is your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Prudent judges, dangerous video game awareness should not be denied advancement development of Guyana. We call upon to consider a fallacy and accept the reality of playing video game do lead to a dangerous addiction. Honorable judges, honorable speaker, distinguished judges, members of opposition, I rise in this noble house this afternoon as the second speaker saying absolutely yes, video game do lead to a dangerous addiction. Erudite judges, our friend on the opposite side is painting that which said video game do not lead to a dangerous addiction. However, I beg to differ. Members of the opposition, do I need to remind that in 2019, World Health Organization classified video gaming disorder in the National Classification of Disease? Wise judges, I will speak on the biological reason how playing video games leads to dangerous addiction. Firstly, video game interferes with the ways transmitters send, receive, and process signals via neurotransmitter. In turn, this affects the way our brain perceives things, including harm. Playing video games addictive. Playing video games active neurons because the brain's chemical mimic that of the natural neurotransmitter in the body. This is dangerous because the natural state of our body transmitter is interrupted and damaged. Injury to the neurotransmitter stops the signals transmitted to and from the brain, causes muscle injuries. These injuries can be impact the brain, the spinal cord, nervous system. Without doubt, this causes harm issues within our body. For example, diabetes, arthritis. Members of our opposition, according to the American Psychological Association, playing video game will influence the biochemistry in the brain, which will alter important brain areas that are necessary for life sustainable functions and can drive compulsive disorder. Judges, opponent, human brain plays a role in stress like anxiety, irritability, which characterize withdrawal of drugs. High fear thus motivate the person to seek to play the games. Honorable Speaker, distinguished judges, members of the opposition, Beloved Guyana, we big and we have sense. Playing video game do lead to a dangerous addiction. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Delroy. And the second speaker for the Cummings Lodge Youth Movement is Mr. Puran Dayal Omacharan. Puran, you're on.
Mr. Speaker, judges, opponents, and viewers, good afternoon. I'll be speaking on self-development by video games. According to the Oxford Dictionary, self-development is the process by which a person's character and ability are developed. You might wonder how video games will accomplish this when our opponents are suggesting they cause violence and addiction. Mr. Speaker, 2020's American Psychiatric Association report titled Resolution on Violent Video Games stated there is insufficient data to conclude video game causes violence. Our opponent's main claim is playing video games frequently leads to addiction. Judges, even the World Health Organization 2019 revision of the International Classification of Disease does not recognize playing games over certain hours as a criteria for gaming disorder. But Mr. Speaker, do you know what frequently playing video games lead to? Self-development. My first example is social skills. 2017's peer-reviewed journal by Professor Felix and Nicole on the game World of Warcraft shows online multiplayer video games are designed to have better results if played in a group. This encourages players to socialize and fosters self-development by allowing players to become team leaders, which require greater social skills. Mr. Speaker, the second example of social development is lowering depression. Renowned psychologist Brian Smith stated depression causes negative emotion, lack of energy, low confidence. However, he also stated the act of playing video games counters depression by producing positive emotion, raises the player's energy, and fosters self-confidence. Moreover, in 2020, the American Psychiatric Association even published the study benefits of playing video games. My final example is development disorder. In 2019, on the FDA official website, fda.gov, showed they approved the first video game, Endeavor RX, that uses sensory stimuli and motor challenge design games to target areas of the brain that plays a key role in the attention function, which helps kids with attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Mr. Speaker, in concluding, even the United States government recognizes video game success in helping development disorders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Puran Dayal. The next speaker from Angoy's Avenue Adolescent Youth Friendly Space, and their third speaker is Ms. Latoya Bethune. Latoya?
Yes, sir.
You're on, Latoya.
Video games aren't just leisure time activity. It has become a negative seed waiting to be germinated in the minds of those that play it. Mr. Speaker, distinguished judges, members of the opposition, intelligent audience, a pleasant afternoon. According to an article posted by the Recovery Village, more than 2 billion people play video games globally. Online gaming addiction statistics shows that anywhere from 1 to 10% of gamers have compulsive addiction issues. Prudent opponents, are you suggesting that we turn a blind eye on such thought-provoking issue? I beg to differ. It is at this point, I, Latoya Betchum, stands firmly to support my team and propose today's move. One may want to think that video games are beneficial because they help increase interaction or probably boost health. However, knowledgeable audience, a survey conducted by addicts by the Florida House on Experience Health on November 20th, 2020, showed that individuals may be consumed with thoughts of playing and show signs of impatience and agitation when they are unable to play. Sagacious judges, If all that was said was not enough fact to persuade you, allow me to focus your attention on two terms: demand and supply. During a webinar by the Caribbean Export and Development Agency, Mr. Jay Powell, founder and CEO of the Powers Group, stated that, and I quote, "The global video game industry has reached one of its highest scores due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As countries around the globe went into lockdown, the demand for gaming went up," end quote. Statistics on video game usage show the growth in the average time spent playing video games. One study reported that while individuals played video games for an average of 26 minutes in 1999, it had increased to 1 hour and 13 minutes in 2009. Due to technological advancement, video game accessibility is on the rise. Publishers are even using 30 days free trials just to lure persons into purchasing and playing these games. As a result, the industry generated $7.4 billion in revenue in 1999 compared to $131 billion in 2018. According to Video Game Addiction Center, video games are designed to entice players to play them. So, is it not obvious that an addiction is bound to be burdened? These said enticement would cause persons to do anything just to satisfy their addictive urges. As to judges, to support this fact, an article posted by the Guyana Chronicles on November 23rd, 2020, stated that a 9-year-old boy was seen begging in the streets just to play video games every day, and this became his lifestyle. Bob Marley said, and I quote, "Every day bucket will go well, but one day bottom must follow," end quote. Informed citizens, playing video games lead to a dangerous addiction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bethune. And the final speaker today for the opposition is Mr. Vikash Basdeo. Vikash, it is now your turn to make your presentation.
All protocols observed. Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, most esteemed judges, learned friends of the proposition, general audience, I rise as the third speaker to continue my team's argument and refute the fallacious arguments of the proposition today. I will briefly outline the significant benefits that can be derived from playing video games and debunk the myth that playing video games lead to a dangerous addiction. Most erudite judges, Dr. Lisa Bowen, a world-renowned American psychologist, wrote in an article for her American Psychological Association in February of 2014, where she posited that playing video games has multiple health and psychological benefits for players, which include significant in their cognitive skills, such as reading and problem solving, and even multitasking effectively. This was as a direct result from the concentration on the games, which create new neural pathways in the player brains and aids in interconnectedness. My dear friends of the proposition, does this amount to a dangerous addiction? Mr. Speaker, most learned judges, according to the article dated April 14, 2020 in the Asian News International by Dr. Tai John Liu, there is a significant evidence among sports personalities that there are multiple physical benefits of playing video games, which include significant improvement in hand-to-eye coordination and auditory perception. It was concluded that video games can be a powerful tool for cognitive training. This, my friends of the proposition, certainly does not support the concept that playing video games can lead to a dangerous addiction. Most learned judges, according to the Australian Council for Education, March 26, 2015, Dr. Jeffrey Ban mentioned that there is significant evidence to suggest that playing video games has helped individuals to develop critical thinking skills, which are used to train pilots in flight simulation. Mr. Speaker, most esteemed judges, do you still believe this? In conclusion, most erudite judges, my bewildered friends of the proposition, I am confident that if I take a poll on how many of the audience have played video games, we can safely say that it did not result in a dangerous addiction. Therefore, we maintain our position that playing video games does not, and I repeat, does not lead to a dangerous addiction. I rest my case.
Thank you, Vikash. And there we have it, the final speaker of the 16 teams and 48 presenters over the last 2 weeks who we heard from. Thank you very much, Vikash. We will now listen to the chairperson of our committee, Ms. Carletta Charles, who will talk a bit more about the speaker's National Youth Debating Competition.
Honorable Mansour Nadir, Speaker of the National Assembly, recognizes the need to promote a broader awareness of institutions of democracy, particularly the Parliament, among our young people. Out of this recognition, birthed the National Youth Debating Competition. This competition serves as a feeder into the 6th Annual Youth Parliament 2021. Rather than having participants in Youth Parliament being students of the University of Guyana only, this competition will allow for broader participation among young people in civil society. The competition involves 48 participants from 16 youth groups across the education districts of Guyana. These groups were nominated by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. The competition, moderated by the Honorable Speaker, will see 15 sessions of debates. 4 sessions will be held each week, on Tuesdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. The debates will be adjudicated by a total of 9 capable and erudite judges who were organized in pools of 3 and who will be rotated over the duration of the competition. Each competition must have rules. The rules of this National Youth Debating Competition are: participants must be present 10 minutes before the commencement of the debate. 15 minutes lateness would result in disqualification and an automatic win for the other team. Each team must consist of only 3 members, all from the same youth group. Failure to comply will result in the disqualification of the team. Once a team has started the competition, no member should be replaced. The first speaker will be the first speaker of the proposing team, followed by the first speaker of the opposing team, and it will alternate in this order. The times allotted to each speaker are as follows. First speaker, 4 minutes. Second and third speakers, 3 minutes. And the rebuttal will be 5 minutes. The rebuttal must be done by only the first speaker on each team. No new arguments or materials should be introduced into the rebuttal. 10 points will be deducted for introduction of new arguments. A bell will be rung first to indicate that the speaker should commence. The second bell will indicate that 1 minute is remaining, and there would be a final bell when that time has elapsed. 5 points will be deducted from each speaker who does not adhere to the allotted time. In the event of technical difficulties, a speaker may be allotted additional time. This is at the discretion of the judges. Speakers may refer to notes but should not read them. 5 points will be deducted from any speaker who reads a prepared speech. Points will be awarded for reasoning and logic, originality, relevance, mechanics, articulation, development of argument, development of points, attitude to opponent, and cohesion. There must be keen attention paid to subject and verb agreement. And finally, The judges' decisions are final. This competition is not without reward. With regard to prizes, I am pleased to inform you that 24 participants out of the total of 48 winners of the first round of this competition will advance to become members of Youth Parliament 2021. Every participant would receive a certificate of participation, a youth debater's pin, and special tokens. Prizes include trophies, plaques, cash, and electronics, and will be awarded to the best debater in each round, all semi-finalists and finalists. I have the confidence that we could look forward to very meaningful and robust debates over the next few weeks. Honorable Mansour Nadir, Speaker of the National Assembly and moderator, will now take us through the debate. Best of luck, everyone.
Charles, and that was Ms. Carlotta Charles, who is the chairman of the organizing committee for the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition. As we give our two teams a few more minutes to complete their summarization and prepare for the rebuttal, let me visit our comments, which we have received from those online. We have Calvin Roberts, who is hailing out to the judges. Anisa Aklima Mohammed, giving best wishes to all the participants. She is very impressed with the mood. Yavindra Ramsarup also sends best wishes to all of our youths who are participating in this debate. Zem Shamlal likes the debate topic and the arguments, he said, were very interesting. Neil Cliff gives a thumbs up, good job to everyone. Priya Nath, good luck and a thumbs up to everyone. And Deodat Prasad says, great job to everyone. So these are some of the comments that we have summarized from those who are following the debates on social media. Today's judges, before we go back to the participants for the rebuttal, are, and this is no order, Mrs. Melissa Dow Richardson, Assistant Director of Sport, Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. Ms. Dow Richardson holds a law degree. She is a graduate of St. Stanislaus College. She has done psychology at the American University of Peace Studies. She's been involved in table tennis, Olympic certification in sport administration, anti-doping official. We have our next judge is Ms. Anisa Shah Mohammed, head of our learning channel. She has been a CEO in the private sector communication. For more than 10 years and held the post of Chief Executive Officer before coming into the public sector. Ms. Mohammed is passionate about her career, technology, education, women's rights. She's also a published author. And the chief judge today is Mr. Delon Fraser, a distinguished Toastmaster, a Toastmaster for over 10 years. He has a Master's of Business Administration degree, a Bachelor of Social Science degree, has judged many speech contests and debating competitions. So we have three very qualified, able, and capable judges. Once our teams are ready, we can now prepare for the rebuttal. The first rebuttal will come from the opposition, and the opposition today is the Cummings Lodge Youth Movement. The proposition today is Angoy's Avenue Adolescent Youth Friendly Space. So I now invite from the opposition Mr. Richard Bainey from the Cummings Lodge Youth Movement to begin his rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, esteemed judges, opponents on the opposing side. I listened to the debate that they proposed, and I must tell you that they have failed to establish that playing video games leads to a dangerous addiction. They have failed to tell you that by engaging in this activity, you are developing something that is synonymous with crack cocaine, meth, and caffeine, maybe even alcohol. And before we even get into that, I must bring to your attention that they did not even establish that it is an addiction. They did not even establish that it is an addiction to go on to establish that it is a dangerous one. They have used the same term that I have used, telling you that there is no scientific conclusion to label it an addiction. They have used the word disorder. And to support their claim, to support all of this ulubulu about disorder being immoral according to Plato and Buddhist philosophy, we don't care about all of this hearsay and moral arguments here. That is not what classifies addiction. You cannot go to a Buddhist temple or pick up a Plato book and say, based on his philosophy, it has now been established according to the Academy of Sciences that that is an addiction. Is there any addiction there? No. They label it disorder, and we have accepted that it's a disorder. It does not reach a stage of addiction. Now, that the fact that they didn't establish that it's an addiction, they didn't even go on to establish that it is a dangerous one. Dangerous how? When compared to what? Do you prefer to be, like I would have started by saying, addiction is something that you consume to the extent whereby it adversely affects you and those around you. When you consume crack cocaine, you want it so much that you don't care about committing crimes, and it influences you when consuming the substance. But by playing video games now, while we are consuming the substance, there are hidden subliminal things within the game that capture our attention. And it is timely that my first proposing speaker speaks about stress and anxiety, and then my third speaker comes in and speaks about COVID-19 pandemic and video games demand escalating. Because how do you think the people are coping with the stress and anxiety? How do you think people during the COVID pandemic are coping with it? And this comes back to the benefits my second and third speaker would have outlined. Social development, it helps with that. It helps with depression. There is a gamut of benefits associated with it. So what are you coming here to tell us really? There is nothing in your claim to substantiate that video games leads to a dangerous addiction, more so playing it. There are other components that they support, such as 2 billion people in the world playing it. Talk about revenue, right? So, and they forget to mention that these 2 billion people have formed a community, like my third speaker, Mr. Basdeo, would have elaborated on when he spoke about those benefits. They have created community and teamwork and cohesion, and they're working together. There are things like Comic-Con now, where people collaborate and share ideas, and so many things are birthed. He spoke about flight simulator. Do you prefer the pilot to go in a real plane and train, or you prefer he train on a flight sim that mimics a video game? Which one do you prefer? When the plane crash, what happened? You haven't dead? Which one is more dangerous? And which one is more dangerous? And that's separate and apart from the fact that it's not even an addiction. How can they come here and tell us that something is so incremental for our development, something that is so incremental for our development is flawed and dangerous and leads to addiction? How do we classify a 3-year-old that plays on his mother's iPad dangerously addicted to something that is? How do we establish that? That is wrong. That is fair. That is unfair. That is wrong. That is not fair at all. So I want to tell you that they will come here with all of this nice fancy research and work, but they have simply failed to even establish what they are proposing. I rest my case. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Richard. And now for the proposition, the Angoy's Avenue Adolescent Youth Friendly Space, Miss Kimberly Smith. Kimberly, you can now proceed with your conclusion.
Thank you. The infamous Robert Henlon said, and I quote, "You can sway 1,000 men by appealing to their prejudices quicker than you can sway one man by logics." End of quote. However, despite the odds, my team and I are secure in the fact that logics are the best way to convince anyone of anything. As such, perspicuous judges, Mr. Speaker, prestige timekeeper, and audience, I would like to highlight the wide variety of fallacy, flaws, and fiction that was mentioned by the opposition. The first speaker would have stated that he is not certain that we mentioned video gaming leads to addiction. Matter of fact, we did. We explained addiction to be, and I quote, "the repeated involvement with an activity despite the mental health substantial causes because that involvement was and still may continue to be pleasurable." The first speaker said that we did not prove how video game leads to an addiction. Were you asleep when I spoke? Because all I spoke about was the psychological reasons how and why video gaming leads to dangerous addiction. I use psychology and philosophy to explain how the human brain works, as well as their mind. You see, we are people that craves desire, as according to the book, The Psychology of Desire. When we crave desire, we also initiate and want to have pleasure. When we have that pleasure, we have the dire desire for more. Hence, we continue to seek that pleasure. This is a cycle of addiction. You desire pleasure. When you have pleasure, you desire more pleasure, and then you become addicted to the pleasure. The first speaker also said that we did not explain how video gaming leads to a dangerous addiction. Are you telling me that a mental health condition is dangerous? Did you not pay attention when we said that video gaming addiction leads to psychological, biological, and economical detriments, such as obsessive compulsive disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder? Secondly, the first speaker said that games such as Candy Crush has become enticing. So correct me if I'm wrong. Are you agreeing with us? Because that is exactly what we said. With the properties that video games pose, that is why it entices us, making us want more of it, hence leading to an addiction. And not just an addiction, a dangerous one at that. My third speaker said, and let me quote exactly from her, "Video games are so enticing that people will do anything to achieve the pleasure that it gives." Need I remind you the testimony that she gave about the 9-year-old boy who will do anything just to get money so he can play video game? The first speaker also said that video game, and I quote, "keeps people hooked." Again, first speaker, are you proposing the mood or are we? Because that is exactly what we've been trying to prove. You desire pleasure, video game gives you pleasure. Desire more pleasure, you become addicted to that pleasure, hence keeping us on the hook. So I'm confused as to how you're saying we did not define addiction. We did not define or explain, matter of fact, how video gaming leads to a dangerous addiction. I'm sorry, I just don't understand. With the other speakers and everyone else, they basically use and explain the same level of contradiction. I would like to say that Professor of Cognitive Sciences would like to contradict what the second and third speaker said. Yes, we agreed that video gaming does stimulate the cerebrum, which helps in cognitive development. But what happens when that cerebrum is overstimulated? Like I said many times, it leads to psychological detriments. believe that playing video games has the ability to transform a frog into a prince without the dire consequences? Authoritative judges, I rest my case. Since this point at all, facts were revealed, I left no space for me to believe, you to believe, or any one of us to believe that video game does not lead to a dangerous addiction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. And this now concludes the presentations, the 48 presentations for the first round. We had 16 teams, and from those 16 teams, we had 8 debates, and now you will have 8 teams going forward to the second round. This debate this afternoon on the moot video games, playing video games leads to a dangerous addiction, is being contested by the Angoy's Avenue Adolescent Youth-Friendly Space and the Cummings Lodge Youth Movement. We are giving the judges a few moments to summarize their score and to consult. We're also going to have, immediately after the decision this afternoon on who is the winner, the 8 teams moving into round 2, which will start on Tuesday at 10 a.m., we will have the draw. The 8 teams that will comprise the quarterfinals, we will have the draw happening and the assignment of the moots. It will happen immediately after we announce the winners. So stay online with us. I know our television program may have to go, but we are asking if they can bear with us this afternoon, because we want the draw for the quarterfinals. The finals will be held on July the 9th, right here at 2 p.m. And already we have a keen contest taking place, and more particularly exciting teams moving forward into the quarterfinals. I see my chief judge is back in his chair, and so it looks as though we are ready for the announcement of the winners. But before we get the chief judge, let me call on Judge Anisa Mohammed to give some comments. Judge Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. To everyone that participated today, very well done. It was quite an engaging debate. I must commend everyone for their efforts today. The proposition, I feel, should have come with much more research and arguments, because there are so much more avenues you could have tapped into when it comes to proposing this moot. However, very well done. You came with some strong points. The opposition, you had some very, very convincing arguments. I commend all the speakers, and I hope that you all are satisfied with today's results. I wish you good luck, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Mohammed. Our next judge is Ms. Melissa Dow-Richardson. Ms. Dow-Richardson, your comments, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon to you, to my fellow judges, to our debaters, and to the staff here at Parliament Office, and everyone watching this exciting program. I must commend the debaters for their work. There was clear evidence of research. The definition of key terms and use of statistics is highly commendable. Our presentations were very passionately expressed, and so, you know, video games are something that is synonymous with youth. It's good to see that you've put yourselves into it and put the kind of analysis into your arguments that showed complexity. There was also commendable references to researchers from the Caribbean, and I think that's very important. By and large, the arguments were compelling. There was some excellent scientific references to cognition and the impact of video games on critical thinking. So I think everyone all the youth who would listen to your presentations would well informed as to how to treat with something that is very much a part of their presence right now. So once again, congratulations on your presentations and good luck to the ongoing participation in this exciting activity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Judge Dow Richardson, and our Chief Judge, who will make the announcement of the winner, is Mr. Delon Fraser. Delon?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And of course, as always, congratulations to both teams. You did very well this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, I felt as if I was in a laboratory with scientists, neurosurgeons, neurologists, and of course, gaming enthusiasts. We've had great use of literary devices, tone, and gestures. I must commend the great structure of the presentations and of course, the smooth flow of arguments as you transition from one point to the other. In moving forward, Mr. Speaker, the teams are encouraged to spend some more time with preparing their arguments, as this would help both of them in their structure and of course, time management. The judges enjoyed the debate thoroughly. There were signs of excellent research, and of course, they had great transition. Congratulations to both teams. As we move forward, we've had a team scoring 246 points, while the other scored 307 points. The team that scored 307 points is that of the opposition. Congratulations to that team. Further, we thought that the best speaker for this debate this afternoon is none other than Vikash Basdio. Congratulations. Mr. Speaker, those are my comments.
Thank you, Chief Judge Delon Fraser, and my congratulations to the best speaker, the winning team, and also the Angoy's Avenue group. All have done extremely well. Congratulations. The debate, we hope, will continue next year. You will get more time, and hopefully you may be able to face off in person with your opposition. Get vaccinated, everyone who is eligible, please. So thank you very much, the Cummings Lodge Youth Movement, and thank you, Angoy's Avenue Adolescent Youth Friendly Space. Thank you very much. We have 5 minutes while our technical officers are preparing now the 8 teams that will contest in the quarterfinals. And there is a software that we're going to use to pair the teams and to assign the mood. So this is not your hand in a bag. This is strictly by software. Our technicians need about 5 minutes as they prepare to do the draw for the quarterfinals. Let me express our grateful thanks to the judges, Mr. Delon Fraser, Ms. Melissa Dow Richardson, and Ms. Anissa Mohammed. Thank you very much. We also want to hail special thanks to the Honorable Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport for collaborating with us in identifying the youth groups across the country. 16 youth groups were identified from 8 regions. We did not get 2 groups involved. There were some challenges, natural and also technical. We are going to fix that for a next competition. So thank you very much, Melissa and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. Thank you very much, Minister Ramson. We have an organizing team that is chaired by Ms. Carletta Charles from Parliament. They have put together this competition in a relatively short space of time. It's not only about coming up with moods and identifying groups, getting judges to agree, but it's also the technical challenges of doing this via a virtual platform. And they have done extremely well in this regard, so my thanks to the staff at Parliament Office. We are just waiting a cue from our technical people who are going to be doing the draw for the quarterfinals. Is this going to be done live, Alonso, live? So it will be done live. If someone can give me the list of all the winners for the first round, we can identify them. I know today's two debates. We had the Cummings Lodge Youth Movement winning this afternoon. The Cummings Lodge Youth Movement won this afternoon's debate. Then this morning, we had two groups also this morning. We had the Linden Superstars Youth Group and the Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group. This morning, the winner was this. Our staff is just giving us the list of winners. This morning's winning team was so we have 8 teams that have progressed into the second round of the competition that will start next Tuesday. Eight teams are progressing into the second round, which starts on Tuesday. We'll have 2 second round, 2 quarterfinal matches on Tuesday and 2 on Friday. And then we go into the semifinals and the finals. This morning, we had 2 groups, the Linden Superstars Youth Group and the Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group. The winner of that debate was the Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group. So these are the 2 winners for today. We had Tuesday this week, we also had 2 winners. And last week, Friday and last Tuesday, we had 2 winners each day. So the 8 teams that are progressing into the quarterfinals of this first inaugural Speakers National Youth Debating Competition are now being inputted into the program that will automatically or randomly, I should say, make a matching not only of the teams but also the assignment of the moots for the quarterfinals. That will be done by a software that will randomly select the moot and randomly match the teams in the quarterfinals. And those 8 teams are that we have are the Arnock Sport Group. The Arnock Sport Group, it's from Port Kaituma. The Queenstown Youth Group from Queenstown, Essequibo. The Anna Regina Youth Group, of course, Essequibo also. The Grove Diamond Youth in Development Group. The Berbice Development Youth Group. The Golden Ohm Youth Group. Cummings Lodge Youth Group. Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group. And there's quite a spread, because you have Region 1, Port Kaituma, you have Region 2, you have 2 teams out of Region 2. You have Region 3. You have a group out of Region 3. You have an East Coast group. You have an East Bank group. You have a Region 5 group and a Region 6 group. So it's quite a spread going into the quarterfinals. And a credit to all of the debaters, the 48 debaters from the 16 teams. We also want to give a special shout out, I hear these DJs saying, to the people who assisted with preparing the teams. They had quite a few persons who would have come together, give up their time, so that these debaters can produce of their best. And we want to say special thanks to them. All of our judges, the 9 judges, have said to us they are prepared to work again with all the groups that will be identified for a next competition. So thank you very, very much, judges. We will give you more time, and more particularly, we will try to ensure we get even more groups organized. I am getting the flashcard saying we are ready for the draw, the quarterfinals draw of the Speakers National Youth Debating Competition. 8 teams in the finals, in the quarterfinals. The Ornock Youth Group, Sport Group, Queenstown Youth Group, and the Regina Youth Group, Small Steps, Big Impact Youth Group, Grove Diamonds Youth and Development, Berbice Development Youth Group, Golden Home Youth Group, Cummings Lodge Youth Group. And Alonzo, our technical man with the software, is ready? Great. So those of you who are with us online, you will see the pairing appearing on your screen.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Speaker, all political reserve, judges, colleagues, Ms. Charles, good afternoon. As you know, we've had 2 weeks, I think, of riveting competition so far, starting off with 16 teams, I think, and now we've met the milestone whereby we're now going to have 8 teams competing, going further. As you can see on your screen, those online and those on the Zoom, the participants, each contestant, you can see there that we have your timings of the dates of the debate and the topic that we allot here at Parliament here, the team, for those specific dates. You cannot see anywhere on that screen here where a team is liaised with a certain topic or a certain date. So that just again reinforce our transparency and reinforce our aim to make this competition far from the hands of human intervention. Once again, I reiterate, as I did for the inception, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Speaker, had nothing to do with the fixture. We've seen, as we warned again, social banter about fixed matches and fixed competitors. Like for instance, when we had the Ornook and the UGSS, folks were asking why did we have to put UGSS against Ornook? But that wasn't our call to make. That was the software's call. All right, so on your screen, as you can see there, we have the 4 timings, the 2 Tuesdays and Friday, and the different topics, right? I have Mr. December on the control. I'm going to press generate schedule, and it will generate the schedule for the upcoming fixtures. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and press generate schedule, and we're going to wait for that to load. Now, as that load, what the system is doing now, they're actually creating a random fixture for us. All right, so we have nothing to do. It's going to take a bit longer, of course. So they're putting teams against teams, date against dates, and fixture and moots against moots. All right, so after this, you would be able to see which team goes against who. All right, so as I can see on my screen here, we have on Tuesday, June 29th, which is next Tuesday, we have the Anna Regina Youth Group versus the Oranook Youth Group. All right, so I know the other team, the other colleagues are taking note, and I trust that those online will be taking note as well. All right, so on Tuesday from 10 a.m., the Anna Regina Youth Group will be going against the Ornook Sports Youth Group, and they'll be tackling the mood of the objectives of CARICOM continue to be elusive. All right, and as we go down in the afternoon, we have the Berbice Development Youth Group at 2 p.m. will be going against the Queenstown Youth Group, and their mood will be Guyanese culture is being destroyed by foreign influence. And as I said earlier for the inception, on our left we have the proposing, and our right we have the opposing. So far, Anna Regina will be proposing, starting off in the next Tuesday at 10, and Ornook will be opposing, and as we go down, Berbice Development Youth Group will go against Queenstown. They will be proposing while Queenstown oppose. All right, as we go down to Friday, July the 2nd, we have the Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group. This morning's winner, they will be going against the Cummings Lodge Youth Group. As you can see there, I have winner match 8. That's because I created that blank frame so that the team who have won would have been named winner match 8, which was just concluded. Because we didn't know who would have won, so we created that in that space. So there we have the Small Steps Big Impact proposing. They'll be going against the winner, which would be Cummings Lodge Youth Group on July 2nd at 10 a.m. Of course, Small Impact proposing, while Cummings Lodge will be opposing. Their mood will be on human trafficking. All right? And we go down later in the afternoon as we close off round 2. Grove Diamond Youths in Development will be going against the Golding Home Youth Group. So we have an East Bank group going against a Berbice group. Of course, the Grove group will be going proposing, while the Berbice team will be opposing. And a very interesting mood, Mr. Speaker. The mood is Guyana should not legalize marijuana. So there you have it, folks. You have your automated fixtures for next week, round 2 of debates. I'll now hand you back over to the Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Alonzo Scipio. A powerful name, Scipio. And we now have the schedule for the quarterfinals, which will happen next week. Tuesday, 2 matches, Anna Regina versus Ornock Sport Group at 10 a.m. And at 2 p.m., the Berbice Youth Development Group versus the Queenstown Group. And then on Friday, we have the Small Steps Big Impact versus the Cummings Lodge Youth Group at 10, and the Grove Diamond Youth in Development against the Golden Home at 2 p.m. And that will close off the quarterfinals, and then the next week are the semifinals and the finals. Again, it's been a real honor and pleasure to work with the judges, the organizing committee, and more particularly, all of the teams in this first round. All of you have a great weekend. Stay safe, get vaccinated if you haven't as yet, and let us keep our country safe and proud. Thank you very much.